And he said, Vin, in 6 months' time, either one of these things will happen. I'll fire you or you can quit. And I was like, no, I need to fulfill the Asian prophecy. He said to me, Vin, the reason for this is because, and he pulls out his left hand and he had terrible arthritis. He was in his mid-70s. And he said, Vin, I gave up my passion and my love in life of playing piano so I can build this damn firm. And I regret it every day I walk in. You're in the wrong job. You're in the wrong career, boy.
In an ideal world, you would love to get someone to work from the way up. I think people are getting impatient now. I think they want to fast track their careers. They want to be at director level at the age of 30 years old. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people that have done it. But unless you earn your stripes, understand the respect and the authority that you need to give to your co-workers, becoming a valued member of society within your organization, I think is going to be paramount.
Of the shortage of a $2 microcontroller versus me not producing that $80,000 vehicle. It's really, really painful for these companies right now. And they'll learn this lesson, and maybe hopefully we don't get amnesia again in the next 4 years.
Small companies, startups, research labs, universities, small countries, they can afford to have supercomputers. That means they could be doing the kind of research and AI development and the kind of mathematics that leads not only to scientific breakthroughs, which is great, but it leads to business innovation. It leads to the discovery of new kinds of materials, new kinds of batteries. It develops language models that power things like Siri. You can't do that without the computational power. And when only a few companies or a few countries own those computers, that's a problem for the world.
The future's bright, not only for us in terms of what we do, but the fact that there's businesses around like ours that can actually support customers the way that we do means that we'll be able to do things for a lot longer.
It just shows how difficult it is to identify a product that claims to be something that it's not. It happens all over the place. There's nothing really that surprises us anymore about how good these things are when they come in.
The guy said, hey, I would love to make something for you. Let me bid something for you. And they said, well, listen, we own the machines, we own the machine shops. There's no way that you could beat our price. Mm-hmm. And he said, okay, try. And so we said, fine, here's this project. Can you make these chamber liners for us? He made the chamber liners, put them on our doorstep for cheaper than we could buy the aluminum for.
You would think that going from 94% efficiency to 96% doesn't sound like much, but if you look at it from the opposite side, the losses go from 6% to 4%. That's a 35% improvement in the loss. Now, if you add a storage system, a battery to your inverter, you go one pass through the inverter to get into the battery, another pass to get out, that's 2% plus 2%. So the overall efficiency is 4% better. That's a huge savings in terms of the overall system. And it's just at the beginning of that.
Constant communication. So we have pretty clear communication from our product team to our sales team. Over communication as well. I would say our system is pretty robust, where things are being updated very quickly as they happen. We literally had products go from 8-week lead time to 30 weeks. And it happened overnight.
That's been an issue where people just want to minimally invest but want the greater outcome. And we have to help people with that to understand, right? And there are ways to deal with it, but you have to educate them. Everybody has a set thing in mind in terms of, what they think it should cost. And in most cases, they don't understand the completeness of the investment that's needed.
I saved $20 to get a battery, and I didn't have a charger, so I used my dad's 12-volt car battery charger, and I proceeded to blow that battery up on my porch, right? And nowadays we have smart technology with lithium polymer batteries that you don't have to be too crazy careful about, but we literally have smart batteries where now you plug them into a charger. That's it. It recognizes the voltage is needed, how many times it's been run. There's so many different things.
More purchasing professionals globally are now wanting to receive electronic sourcing in print. Okay. So this morning I had a meeting with our circulation manager, and we had Peru, we had Australia, we had New Zealand. So that's quite interesting. It's costing a lot of postage, but my philosophy from day one is anybody who wants a copy of electronic sourcing, I want to send it to them. And that's my kind of passion taking over, as opposed to my business head.
They do code release once a year, or twice a year, right? And that's the difference. That's the difference between that old enterprise world and the new, cloud-based software world where, you're doing releases every day and things are changing every day because you're working agile, you're working with your business partners and your analytics and making improvements all the time.
To spin up a really aggressive new experiment, we would have to spend 6 or 8 months buying the servers, setting up the servers, provisioning the servers, buying the software, blah, 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 all that stuff. He said, now with the cloud, we can do that in 6 hours, at the most 6 days.
People don't realize other people are watching. It's almost like when you have kids at home and they're watching you all the time. They're watching you cook. They're watching you clean. They're watching how you interact. They're watching what you do when you're irritated. They're watching what you do when you're happy. They're watching how you treat your spouse. They're watching everything. So the leaders have to understand their talent's watching. They're watching everything and they're seeking inspiration.
This is one of the examples of marketing, right? So you are actually building the content. I am building my content. And this is how everybody should be building the content. Even in the industrial space, industrial spaces or the companies, they are not really into the newer methods of marketing where they are going to do the content marketing. They are going to build really awesome content related to their product or process or brand, and then they are actually going to drive the traffic.
If they have product that no other major supplier has, that should cause you to ask a couple of questions. And we see as an enticement to get you to place the order, they're quoting well below market prices or prices that you've seen before. Those are two things that right off the bat should cause some concern. So you have to do your investigation, your vetting, your due diligence.
Automation, it's like, okay, well, it's easy to theorize automation and easy to say, okay, well, if we just throw this into this line, this would work great. But in practice, it's a lot more difficult. Of course, you got the upfront investment. Then you have the real world that gets in the way of that says, oh, wait, I need to actually plan all this manufacturing steps in before it gets to that place. So then I can implement automation and get it to take off.
You go to a bank and you borrow money, they charge you interest. Come to a distributor, they charge you gross profit. And again, I'm generalizing here. But if you look at any distributor's balance sheet, well over 80% of their current assets are accounts receivable.
The deployment of 5G, this is what caused the MLCC shortage in 2018. 2 years later, everybody's scratching their heads going, didn't we see this coming? It's the same drivers. So no, I don't think anybody learned from it. They use their own internal part numbers, or the OEM that they're producing for has an internal part numbers. They're sitting there with a warehouse full of parts, but they don't even know that they have the one that they're looking for because they're looking for a different part number.
If you think about how long it takes to manually source a component, line by line, talking to multiple suppliers, being thorough and accurate and all of that stuff, it's such a huge difference from that world to I click a button, it goes through my entire BOM, I sit there and sip a coffee, and in 30 seconds I'm done.
Well, we don't care, we'll give you a release, go ahead and ship that product. We had to make a decision as a company. Wait a minute, this is going into defibrillation machines. I do not want to be the guy
life-saving machines,
who needed that defibrillation machine to work and fail because of my flash that I shipped even though you said it was okay. I'm sorry, sir, we're not going to ship it.
You and I both have containers sitting out in the port of LA right now. It's just sitting on the water, soaking in the sun. I have several containers out there today. We're solving the customer's immediate nervous about getting something on time, which isn't going to happen. You have to bring the reality to the table in a fashion that is sensitive to their feelings and sensitive to their needs.
When I joined the electronic industry 20 years back, I just told myself every day, I just want to learn one thing. If I learn one thing every day, by the time I leave the electronic industry, I will have a lot of knowledge. And I've done that over the years. Some days you learn two things, and there will be days when you learn nothing.
And realize that you're not going to go from student to a CEO in 5 minutes, right? This whole concept of the entitlement thing, right? You got to build it up. Unless you seek higher education, unless you seek more responsibility, unless you increase your knowledge base, you're not going to get the big bucks, right? You got to grind it up.
Like you were talking about YouTube, there are so many opportunities and avenues that are available to us today. So many companies have training available on their websites. You can find something to keep your mind active and constantly growing.
If you have a team that's resistant to the change in technology, that's sometimes even worse than the training. If they're not on board before you make the investment, better rethink it.